he actually links work-life balance with happiness, and determining how happy you are in your particular environment.
Welcome to the Business of Parenting podcast. Tune in as we discuss the principles of successful parenting as a business professional. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of BOP, the Business of Parenting Project. What a fun project this is. And I have an amazing guest today. I have the one, the only, Mr. Cameron Cresswell with me. Cameron, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, good, mate. How are you traveling?
I'm doing well. Hey, you're literally on the other side of the planet from me.
Literally.
Like, I think so. Like, almost like to the T, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
What time is it where you are right now?
It's a little after 10 p.m. on a beautiful Wednesday.
Okay, wow. So you're almost like an entire day ahead of me then. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
you're going to have a good day today, Jason, if my day is any indication, brother.
There you go. Okay, good. I'm glad it's coming my way. I appreciate you giving me that.
Absolutely.
Heads up on that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Hey, Cameron, thanks, man, for taking the time to jam with me. This has been a fun series to kind of record. I think for a lot of us, especially in the automotive industry, but I think anybody out there that's an entrepreneur in any type of vertical, just trying to navigate the world of parenting and family life. And it's like, I mean, we talk about the struggle of building businesses and dealing with staff. And it's like, it's almost like the iceberg. You know the iceberg, that always that metaphor they always like to use, like you're only seeing the tip of it. And really, the girth of what I think anybody in our particular shoes is dealing with is a lot at home with our families. And I really appreciate you, man, to take the time and willing to come on and talk about it. Cause that's the point. That's of this podcast. I'm not an expert. I'm 100% not an expert on this, right?
Absolutely. I fall into the same category.
Right? Dude, I'm an expert at making mistakes. That's what I'm an expert at. I'm like,
yeah.
But
I was going to suggest to you when you reached out to ask me to be on this. I'm so sure you want my wife on this thing. You don't want me on this because she's when it comes to advice, mate, she's the chairman of the board on that front.
I do have a couple podcasts scheduled here in the future that we're actually going to bring both the husband and the wife on. But boy, that'll be interesting, right? But hey, let's to kick off today's podcast. I love kicking off things with little origin stories. So let's find out kind of the origin story, of yourself, your family, and your business.
Yeah. So obviously an automotive person, just like you are, mate, and we've had many interactions over the years. So yeah, we're both byproducts of the same industry, just in a slightly different hemisphere, as it turns out. But I operate a business based in Australia. We service companies all over the Asian Pacific region as well as North America. We provide talent acquisition services for the automotive industry across all the boards. So, generally speaking, anything from middle management up to C-level, senior management, directorship. We consult with organisations to provide them with great people. Mm-hmm. As far as the background's concerned, I'm a byproduct of the automotive industry myself from a family point of view. So I literally grew up in the industry. Our family were Ford dealers and had multiple Ford dealerships when I was born. And born into the business. And when my father was born, my grandfather was a Ford dealer and had multiple Ford dealerships. So a third generation automotive person is me. And as I say quite often, the category I put myself in from an automotive sense, at least, is damaged goods from birth. But but yeah, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids. I've got two girls and a boy. Lily's 17, nearly 18. Kalani's just turned 14, and we got the young fella in Emerson who's 12, going on 13 very soon. So an interesting cross section, and yeah, family obviously is something that I think you learn on the fly. I think you mentioned in your opener that, you know, we're used to building businesses and you know, when it comes to families, it's a you know, I think for me when you said that, the two things that the one thing that come to mind that correlate between the two is that when you're a parent, or when you're building your own business as a, you know, just starting out in the world, both things don't come with a user manual, as they say in the classics.
No, they don't.
So yeah, you learn as you go.
Especially at the age group you have. My oldest is just coming into that age range that your children are, and man, 100%. There's no owner's manual. Why is there not an owner's manual for this stuff, right? You know, I'm calling her a tween. You know, she's not quite a teen, but boy, some of the things that come out of that mouth. But you're right, man. It's the business, and I don't know for myself if it's like this too, but once I've kind of approached this kind of, I don't know, this business mentality around, you know, how I parent, and so I actually kind of broke it out. Look, I'm a little silly, and people will probably laugh at me a little bit for this, right? But I look at my parenting as I kind of would my business. So how do I develop, coach, and train, all right, my kids to be functioning adults, I guess. You know, like I was telling you a little bit before we started recording, I figured I got 18 years to put these kids out to market, and the market's going to determine if they're a dick or not. You know,
yep.
But like,
I like it. Yeah.
But that's a perfect segue though, kind of into our first topic though, right? You know, does being a parent make us a better leader? I think it's a great topic, man, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
I think for me, it's all a part of the experience gathering thing we do in life, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, we gather experience from, you know, from everything that we expose ourselves to, and you know, being a parent is definitely a part of that. Being in business, managing teams, whether you're doing it for yourself or doing it for somebody else, man, people find new ways of surprising us every day on that front, don't they? So, you know, it's the world. I think the world now is, you know, if you look back to the stereotypical business operator, you know, 30 years ago, it was a very directive style of leadership, and, you know, we all work as a team, we do it my way, and, you know, this is, you know, I speak the same to everybody, irrespective of who you are and where you are and what you are. But, you know, in the current world, you know, you've, as a father, you've got to communicate at their level and find out what their collateral is, and you know, be able to have that effective level of communication and relationship. And to be honest, it's exactly the same as if you're managing your team. You know, you've got to manage 100%. The individual and not you know, not have a one size fits all kind of approach to your management style. What do you think, Jason?
You know, but you know what? I actually remember a podcast that we did a long time ago. We were talking a little bit about this because, like I said, a big part of what you do is just acquiring new talent, right?
Correct.
And we were talking about, like, you know, what does this, you know, next generation of sales talent looking for, you know, sales or service talent, any type of talent, I guess, really is they're looking for a clear path of growth. Do you remember? I remember we jammed about this a long
absolutely.
time ago, right?
Yeah.
It's like no one wants to just come in for a job. All right, they want to come in knowing that there is a clearly defined path for them to grow within an organization. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if we translate that exact same thing over to our families, I mean, I think our kids thrive on knowing, you know, what is the path to becoming a tween, to a teen, to a young adult, to, I'm going to put junior adult out there in some cases, to an actual
cadet adult.
A cadet adult. Like,
yeah.
But I think, I think us, you know, being parents, I think that makes us kind of a better leader, because I think we can take that exact same approach. But I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think for me, I learned it. I learned when I learned it very early in when I started, and this was even I wasn't working for myself. I was working in another business at the time. That the way I think, well, I'll tell you a story, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Jason. So when when you're expecting your first child, it's an exciting experience, right?
Yeah.
You're doing everything in preparation. You're getting all of the ducks in a row and the house ready, and it's all you're all working up to this massive crescendo. And our much better halves feel it because obviously they're intimately involved in the process, right? But from my point of view, from the father point of view, or non-birthing parent, I think they say these days, it didn't really dawn on me just how real being a parent was until my wife Heather had given birth to Lily, and they were in the hospital, and they said, "All right, everyone needs some rest, Dad. Go home." And I drove away. I remember driving away from the hospital that night, thinking to myself, "Holy shit, dude, your life has just changed." And it had changed. We had, like everyone, you have 9-10 months to get used to the idea, but geez, it didn't get real until that moment, that time. And
Yes.
from then on, I reckon my management style changed because that person that I was managing was somebody's son, somebody's daughter.
Yes.
There was not that there wasn't respect for that relationship beforehand, but geez, it exponentially increased afterwards. Can you remember a similar time
You know what? I
when your
remember
first was born?
I was actually just talking to a young dealer principal the other day. Shout out to Tanner if he's listening to this. And he's expecting his first. And he's like, "Man, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?" I'm like, "Of course, absolutely, go for it." Right? He's like, "Well, like, what was like the first day like?" And I'm like, "The first day was a total just mind fuck." Honestly, that's exactly what I mean. It was somehow I couldn't almost physically remember, the 20 some odd years that happened prior, to
It wasn't important, was it?
It wasn't. It was like it was almost like even though it was only a day, less than 24 hours. Honestly, I don't know if I could even. It almost just felt like a distant memory. Everything that happened up to that point was literally just a distant memory, and it's like literally my whole world restarted, from that point. And it's interesting now since you kind of bring this up, because I think this is a good segue into our next topic. In the beginning it was, obviously I knew where my time was, right? Like it was just spend as much time as humanly possible with this little being. And I find over time, I'll be completely honest with you, Cameron, that kind of faded away. And honestly, by our third child, Luke, the first 2 years, I honestly don't think I was really around, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
So this kind of goes into our next topic that work-life balance. Sorry, go ahead.
I travelled a fair bit when for work. Yeah. I travelled a fair bit, so there were times where I was away for a couple of nights a week on the odd occasion, and you kiss the little one and the wife goodbye and say I'll see you at the end of the week, etc. And obviously as a family unit you're learning what to do, and you go, "Oh yeah, I'm out, see you later, I'll be away." But I just remember that time, that night. It was the epiphany was, up until this point, you've been all consumed with getting that next level on the corporate ladder, or getting that pay rise, or hitting that target, and all of it at one moment it became insignificant to say, "Okay, Cameron. This is why you're here on this earth now, is to be a dad and to quote you, to get that 18-year product development done and make sure that you haven't damaged it at the other end, and they're acceptable to the market, which is it's a great epiphany. But I think, from my perspective, I think we kind of, you and I are in a similar age bracket where our fathers were, the family unit. Our fathers were the hunters and gatherers.
Yes.
It was the male's job to go out and, dominate the world, put food on the table, provide for the family, etc. And I think our generation has kind of learnt that thinking is so old. I remember when I was always obsessed with, making sure that we didn't have any worries financially and professionally, and everything was paid for, and everyone, it was, no one went without. But you realise that it's not really what it's all about when you break it down to the family unit, right?
No, it really isn't. And I think this is, kind of that perfect segue into kind of our next topic when we talk about balance. At some point in time, we lose the balance. Like, it's like we were able to kind of like maintain, it's like they come into our lives, and then it's so new, right? So time is very, very heavy there. And then it seems like the scales start to move more, and then we kind of get back into this professional routine, and I don't know, I just hate to say it, we lose the balance, but and I hate people saying the word balance. I got to be honest with you, because I feel like they think like there's this mystical, like, well, if you're spending 40 hours on your business, then you should be spending 40 hours with your children. And I don't think that's exactly what balance is, but I'd love to kind of get your spot. Like, what does work-life balance actually mean? Because we say it so often, but I don't really hear people going in depth enough to actually kind of define it. But I'd love to get your thoughts.
I like Simon Sinek's actually interpretation of work-life balance. Have you ever heard that?
Yes, I have. It's a great one.
Yeah, and basically, to summarize, I'll try and remember it the best I can, but to summarize it, he basically says, in short, people get consumed about work-life balance and associating that with a number of hours. So, like you mentioned before, if you're working a job and working 40 hours, therefore you must spend 40 hours with your family, etc. But he actually links work-life balance with happiness, and determining how happy you are in your particular environment. So, obviously, in the ideal world, you should be equally happy at home, and you're equally happy at work. Not all of us are fortunate enough to have that level of emotional satisfaction, I suppose. But it's not. The point he makes is it's not necessarily intrinsically linked to the hours and the punch clock that you're putting in every day. It's actually more to do with your level of happiness. But it's the thing about balance is it's utopia, isn't it? Having 100% balance 100% of the time is utopia. You're never going to live there. You might get close enough to see it, or get to receive a postcard from it, but it's always something that you're working towards. And the key to it for me is making sure that you're as happy as you can be in your professional life, and as happy as you can be in your family life.
You know what? I really like that visual. I think people look at this kind of work-life balance, and because I love what you said, so I want to go a little farther down that rabbit hole. I think they look at this work-life balance as something that's like a finish line. Like I'm running towards something and I must cross this finish line. But what we're saying here in reality, what it kind of sounds like what we're saying here is that, work-life balance is not necessarily a finish line, it's always kind of a moving goal. And it seems
Absolutely.
like I think if we break it up almost into kind of a daily working goal is that we're going to get up in the morning, we're going to step up to the plate, we're going to swing, we're going to swing at the ball. All right. In this case, that ball is going to be called work-life balance. Now, sometimes we're going to connect, and it's going to be a home run, man. It's going to be out of the park. It's just the crowd is cheering, and you were productive at work. All right, you got everything you need to get done. Your team at work is jamming. Your goals are getting hit. You come home. You spend real eye-to-eye contact time with your kids. You play a game of checkers, or you do something, or you help them with their homework. And you get at the end of the day, yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
But then there are days that it's just not. You swing and you just effing miss.
Yeah,
so
you bugger up both of it.
Right?
You bugger up your home life and you bugger up your work life, right?
but it's totally true, right? I think people out there just think that this is something that they just need to achieve, or it's something it's a finish line, and I don't think it's a finish line. I think it's a goal that we try to attempt to every morning. Look guys, everybody out there that's watching and listening, if you're gonna have days at work that you're just gonna feel like, damn. That was I had one yesterday, Cameron. It was 4 o'clock. It was 4 o'clock in the evening, and I went, "What the hell did I do today? What did I actually accomplish today?" Right? And when I think about that, and I think some people kind of feel that way about their work-life balance, and then there's this societal scorning that goes on. Oh, you did not just do that, did you? And I feel it takes this toll on you, where it's just oh man. And I feel to the point where I think some people just never actually step up to the plate to swing.
Well, it's a bit of a byproduct of the modern world, don't you think?
Yeah.
You look at, we've never been more connected now than what we have been. You've got all of the different pipes that we communicate through, and social media obviously plays a massive part with keeping you engaged in whatever platform you're looking at. We see these influencers out there living their best lives, and being parents of the year, chefs of the year, holiday maker of the year, homekeeper of the year. And the knock-on effect from that is that people aspirationally look towards them and saying, why, if I'm less than that, I'm failing. I'm an imposter. I'm no good. I'm really clearly bad at this. And it does take a toll, I think. But one thing I think, one of the shining lights actually out of the last couple of years, and I won't mention the C word, but is that I think people now, to a degree, value authenticity more than the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
I think
I totally agree with you. I do feel like there's this level of just kind of just being authentic, and maybe you're right, because last 24 months we've had to spend more time with ourselves, I guess, right?
Yes.
Where I agree with you. I do kind of feel this higher sense of maybe awareness with a lot of the people that I'm out there talking with, and no, I'm with you, but I think this is kind of a good segue kind of into that last topic we want to talk about today. Is are we too connected to our professional lives, right? You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes, we get so wrapped in what we're doing, we're too connected, and has the last 2 years kind of slowed us down where we actually realize we're too connected, but how do we, I guess my question here is how do we stay connected to our professional lives, but not at the detriment of our families? I'd love to kind of get your thoughts, man.
For me, at the moment, I think it comes down to discipline and self-discipline more than anything else. Jace, I think, we're in a world obviously where our digital devices, our supercomputers, that they bing bong at everyone else's whim, isn't it? One of the great things that was said to me not so long ago, it was that your email inbox is somebody else's to-do list. So, thinking that through laterally, someone sends you an email that's for you to do something, an action at the end of it, where therefore, we always have this workload kind of in front of us that, depending on how you manage it and how you discipline it determines your mental state in many ways, so, there's some of us and myself included in this, there's a level of anxiety attached with having too many unread emails.
There is 100%. Trying to think how many unread emails I have. 4,000. There we go.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember when I was a kid growing up, as I said, we were the Ford dealers, and I was born in 1976. I'm 46 years old this year, and needless to say, the era that I grew up in and you grew up in was pre-mobile phones. Nobody had mobile phones back then.
Exactly.
They weren't even a thing. I think the only mobile phone that I knew of was the size of a backpack, and who wanted that? And we would jump on my father would leave work early on a Friday afternoon. He would swing by home. He would pick up Mum, and the car would already be loaded. He would pick up myself and my two brothers, and we would drive a half an hour to where we had our boat moored, and we would all jump in the boat, load it up, and we'd be up on the boat, enjoying a great weekend, because the dealership didn't even open on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Nice.
So it was remember those days? And the only connection that my father had with the world was a two-way radio that he pulled out of one of the spare parts trucks every time we went away, just in case something happened, right? But what that meant was that the time that we spent together up as a family on that weekend, there was no distractions.
Yes,
it was pure family. It was pure family. And, now we can't even wake up in the morning without checking our emails before we even get out of bed.
You know what? That's so true. Cameron, I fight with this, right? Because I find this level of efficiency, look, I think as a society, we'd like to blame the technology, right? It's so easy. It's so easy to blame the technology. Well, social media is addicting, and that's why I spend too much time there. And I get 72 emails in an hour from work, and I need to respond to them. And I have but I think what it is I don't blame the tech. I got to be honest with you. I personally don't, right? I personally don't blame the tech. I mean, I blame the user. More than the tech, because this is just simply a tool, but it's a tool
Absolutely.
that I can actually.
That's all it is.
It's a tool that not only I can connect professionally, but I can also connect to my family in a big way. I was talking to a gentleman, the other day, Matt, on the same podcast, and his primary form of connection with his daughter, who's now in college, is they text message each other almost at the same time every single night, and it's not a long conversation, it's just a few things, but it's that routine. So it's not necessarily a tech, and they stay in touch with each other through social media. I mean, I feel like even like my parents feel more connected to my kids, because of my wife's social media efforts, right? And it's like, I saw those pictures the other day and stuff.
Yeah, it is. But it's for me, it's the discipline.
There you go, Dad. That's it.
As I said at the start, it comes down to the discipline side of things. Like it's only a problem if you allow it to be a problem, and how you manage it has more of a bearing on that mental health side of it, I believe. The just because you get a notification, it doesn't mean you have to respond straight away. It's the way you manage it and the way your discipline is on how you cope with it is probably the greater toll, isn't it?
It is. You know what? Here, I'll give you a little hack. I started doing this. Someone actually showed me this, so I'm not going to take credit for this, but someone else showed me this. And I actually schedule playtime in my phone with my kids. Between 6 and 8 o'clock at night it's kids playtime. Now, what's unique about me scheduling that in my phone is A, I get a reminder. B, my phone goes into do not disturb mode. And I can't get notifications, text messages, or emails until right after 8 o'clock, and my phone goes ding, 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 ding. But I always thought that was a really super cool hack. Hey, Cameron, I know we're getting towards the kind of tail end of our time today, and this has been just a great conversation, man. And Cameron, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you just being open and just authentic and just real. I mean, I've approached a lot of people about talking about this doing this podcast and covering these topics, and I get it. And not everyone's super comfortable about, just being open about their successes and their wins, when it comes to family. Very much so open about their successes and wins when it comes to business, but family's a little different for some reason. And I think that I'm hoping that, these podcasts will kind of change that and really kind of, create that business approach, to parenting. But before I let you go, Cameron, for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now, I would love to maybe connect with you. What's the best way to do so?
Oh, all of the pipelines work. You can obviously LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Cameron Cresswell at Automotive Talent. If you search for me on LinkedIn that way, you'll definitely find me. And I promise not to be too much of a pest in response to you on that. And obviously our email as well, automotivetalent.com.au. That has our contact details in there as well. So, if you want to reach out and connect, send an email or what have you. More than happy to shoot the breeze, so to speak. The world is always better when you have more friends, Jason, in my experience. Wouldn't you agree?
With you. Absolutely, man. And Cameron, thank you for being my friend.
Oh, mate. I love you, brother.
Thanks, man. This was a lot of fun. Have yourself an amazing evening.
and enjoy the day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business of Parenting podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.